One of the magnificent ways that we celebrate here every Sunday is through a ceremony that we've adopted here called Lighting the Flames of Faith. It is an acknowledgement that all faith traditions, all religious paths, and all spiritual ideas, what we teach is that they're all rooted in one thing, and I think that that thing is love. And so here to guide us through the Flames of Faith ceremony today, please welcome today's Keepers of the Flames, Greg Poling and Laura Cass.
We light a candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light a candle for these shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous people, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of surrender to divine love as the highest calling. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light a candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light a candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them, and for all faith traditions unnamed in this ceremony. The final candle is the healing candle. It represents the revealing of the divinity at the core of all experience. This is your candle for whatever is in your mind and heart that requires the light.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Greg. In 2013, I have this memory of, I was living in Toronto at the time, and I came to Tucson, I think, for the holidays. And I remember going to the theater for this film that, I'm not going to embarrass them too much, I don't think, but one of them is here. My nephews were younger then, little kids, and they wanted to see this movie, Frozen. I didn't know what it was about. It was just an animated film, and I just remember sitting there. We sat in the front row. It was a sold-out house. We had to sit in the front row, and something like this, and just so moved by the experience of that story being told. And I remember hearing this song, which is like the big song of the movie, right, and thinking, let it go. That's a great song for a Sunday. And it's only taken, 12 years to get here. To have someone that I know can just really give it what it needs. Yeah. Whew. Today's adventure, because the theme of the month is adventure, today's adventure is to go on an exploration of that which is within. And I want to start with a consideration by asking this question of you, which is this: what is the divine? Just think about that for a moment. We throw that word around a lot. We throw that word around a lot. The divine, right? And the various founders of the independent philosophies under the New Thought umbrella have, in what I've looked at, never really used that word, divine, independently. That in their usage of that word, it's always an adjective. There's divine mind, divine ideal, divine source, divine philosophy, divine something or other, etc., right? And that is a primary definition of the word divine. So, of course, as a minister, I love going and looking things up in the dictionary, which, of course, is descriptive but not prescriptive. If you are confused by why I say that, you can talk to me about that later. But the first definition in the dictionary is divine as adjective, something that describes something else. And the second definition is the noun, the divine as a thing. The divine as something. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the religious science movement, refers to this thing as the thing itself in the beginning of the Science of Mind book, which he authored in, well, the version that we utilize in New Thought circles was authored in 1938 as an edition that was expanded from a 1926 version. But in the introduction, the very first part of the introduction is called The Thing Itself, where he talks about what is this thing, the divine? What is the divine? What is, essentially, the question he's asking is, what is God? God is the thing itself. And I like to use the word divine both ways, as an adjective and as a noun. For as a noun, we are, each and every one of us, I am, you are, we are the divine itself. The wholeness of us is the divine, expressing as us. And we are, each and every one of us, empowered with and endowed with divine attributes. We all get to utilize the creative power of the divine in our own lives because we are not separate from the divine. We are divinity expressed. So the divine refers to our inherent identity. It is our infinite presence, the infinite source, expressing as all creation. It's not just us, it's all creation. And the truth for me is that the divine is the essence of our beingness. And every cell in our body, every molecule is the expression of this divinity, this divine energy, the divine itself. We are not separate from God. That is a fundamental premise upon which this entire philosophy is built. And it is a differentiating factor from many other faith traditions which put God outside the self. We are not separate from God, for how could we be separate from the infinite? We are expressions of it, wholly, fully. 100% of us is 100% the divine expressing. It's an important aspect of our teaching. Charles Fillmore, it took a while to get here too. Because even back in the day, Charles Fillmore, one of my favorite quotes that was uncovered a couple years ago from an unpublished talk, you can go and find archives of, talk notes and things. He offered this idea that, we speak to God in the third person. God is, something out there. He, right? Oh, he. Really? We speak of God in the third person, and then we evolve. We evolve, right? We speak of God in the second person. Oh God, we're having a personal relationship to you, God. Not some God, he, she, it out there, but God, even more present. And then he continues to say, the day is coming, because he didn't think we were there yet, but I think we're here now. He said, the day is coming when we shall speak of God in the first person, for we shall have displaced all consciousness of separation. What he was saying is, we must begin to acknowledge the idea that God is each and every one of us. We can state firmly, without reservation and without hesitation, I am God, you are God, we are God. There can be no separation from the infinite, as I always say, because if there was separation, then the infinite would be finite. It's impossible, absolutely impossible. So the divine, which is who we are, is limitless. It is boundless. It is ever creating. It is constantly unfolding itself through love and law as itself. As itself. We are that same creative power ever creating. Each and every one of us. Some people don't like to hear that because then what they hear is they think about their lives and they're like, I created that. And the answer is yes, you created it, but you don't have to live with it. That's the important thing. You are not relegated to live with it. So the Fillmores often referred to mortal limitations, the idea of limitation in the world of form. The Fillmores often referred to mortal limitations giving way in the face of divine ideas. And that is why I can say we are not bound by any mortal limitations, and that for me also becomes part of the practice of prayer. In prayer, we are inviting mortal limitations to give way in the face of divine ideas from the point of view that we are divine. We are the divine. It's, and I always like to use the seed metaphor, remembering that we are, what we have within each and every one of us is the potential and possibility for the most extraordinary, magnificent expression of life that could ever be considered. Within every acorn lies the potential for a mighty oak tree. Just as the acorn holds all it needs to grow, each and every one of us, you, we, all of us, carry the divine spark waiting to be nurtured and revealed. That's the truth. So what does it mean to you? I really want you to take a moment to consider an answer to this question. It's rhetorical, just see what comes up for you. What does it mean to you to fully and wholly recognize yourself as the divine? Just take a moment to see what comes up for you. Why this is important to me to really deepen into what our thoughts are around that, which may be also addressed through our belief system, because our belief system and the thoughts that we have actively might be in conflict with each other. That's something to just be aware of. But ultimately, if you truly recognize yourself as the divine, for me, that's a feeling space, because I cannot language that. I can't put it into words. All I know is that it feels like something beyond the limitations I have adopted for myself in my life. And if this becomes the premise upon which your prayer practice is built, you, like all the master mystics, will perform miracles in your life. I think that's true. That's my belief. What do you believe? What do you believe? There's a way that the divine is used in adjective form that was very prevalent in the work of Thomas Troward. He referred to the divine ideal. The divine ideal. And what he offered about this is, the divine ideal is defined in this way. It is the inherent perfection and harmony of all things. That in all things there is an inherent perfection and harmony. It is the blueprint of ideal order, beauty, and completeness. And everything that exists has its origin in this divine ideal, and it is expressing itself fully through each and every individual. What does that mean to you? Just check in. If you know yourself, if you feel yourself to be fully, wholly divine, I feel like I could rise up off this stage right here and right now. I feel in some ways like I could walk on water. I feel something. Troward wrote this: the divine ideal is the highest conception of life that we can picture to ourselves. To realize it, we must regard it not merely as something to be accepted and enjoyed, but as something to be worked out in the domain of the relative and the phenomenal. What that means is for us to realize, to truly realize the divinity that is who and what we are, we must be willing to demonstrate it in our lives. That's the relative world. It is something to be demonstrated in our circumstances and in our experience. But boy, that can be hard sometimes. It can be hard sometimes. But I'm here to say you are empowered to do just that. You are because you are the infinite power. The divine is our natural state of being. It is natural. Who we are must be natural. Natural meaning effortless, flowing, and easeful. That's how I choose to use the word natural in this regard. It is effortless, flowing, easeful. It is authenticity, free from resistance. Boy, what if we acknowledged our authentic identity, free of any resistance? Because I know that sometimes I say, I know the truth of who I am, and that little voice back there goes, really? Are you sure about that? And that's when I have to say, yes, I am living from this point of view faithfully. And whatever that idea is, it has no power in my life, because being divine is natural. I often refer to our natural state as a state that is in harmony, it is a state of joy, it is a state of happiness, it is a state of infinite creativity. And anything in our experience that seems unlike that natural state is something perhaps that we have taken on in our minds and in our hearts and in our consciousness that is playing itself out, but we are not relegated to live in any other way other than harmoniously, joyfully, happily, and creatively. Anything that seems contrary is resistance, oftentimes below the level of awareness. So a lot of what we engage in this practice of new thought is to say, let us draw to the level of awareness that which is below the level of awareness, because, as I always say, the 90-10 model, we have 100% consciousness, 90% of it is below the level of awareness, 10% is at the level of awareness, but 100% of it is creating our lives. And so part of the practice is to say, what is in that 90%? What is there? Because if that is creating my life, I might want to become aware of what's happening there so that I can actually activate myself and be in charge of the expression of my life. Nature itself does not second guess itself, right? It simply expresses. It simply expresses. A flower doesn't question its bloom. It just unfolds its blossom naturally. It doesn't sit there and go, should I bloom? I'm not really sure today. Not really feeling it. I think I'm going to go curl up under my covers and go back to sleep. The flower just does its thing. And we all have this same nature as creation. We are the expression of creation itself. A bird, this is one of my favorite metaphors, because this also allows us to step into the idea that if we know who we are, then we actually alleviate fear. A bird does not land on a branch trusting the branch won't break. A bird lands trusting in its natural ability to fly if the branch breaks. Stop waiting for life to be perfect or risk-free. Trust your inner resilience to soar. I want to say that again. Stop waiting for life to be perfect or risk-free. Trust your inner resilience to soar. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. When we release our resistance and perfectionism, I used to be quite the perfectionist. Everything had to be just so. I had to manipulate and control everything. I had to, when I finally chose to let that go, what I realized is that my inherent nature was already perfect. Even in what I deemed imperfect in expression, that in and of itself was perfection expressing, because none of us can be anything other than perfect. So if you're looking at your life and saying, well, that doesn't feel so perfect to me, know that you are empowered to do something about it. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the religious science movement within the New Thought umbrella, offered this. He said, the truth which sets us free is not the introduction of some higher power on a lower plane. It is the knowledge that there are no higher and lower planes in truth. Doesn't exist. There is no higher, there is no lower. There is only pure creative expression, which is what God is. And it is natural to each and every one of us. So you are divinely natural. Did you know that? You are divinely natural. And so, from that point of view, we are also the authority in our lives. We are empowered to take charge and consciously choose how our lives will unfold. Now, does that mean, again, sometimes I have to ask this, does that mean that I'm going to go in and coerce or manipulate circumstances in my life? No. What it means is that I am consciously open to choose my relationship to anything I am experiencing. That is the ultimate, for me, that is the ultimate expression of freedom. To know that I am at choice, always, 100%, no matter what. As an individualization of this divine nature, I have authority to choose my life experience and my relationship to the experiences of my life. I'm having a very challenging time with that this week. I'll be honest, I go back and forth. I have challenges within that. But the work becomes allowing myself to gracefully grow through the perception of any challenge from the point of view of being divine, natural, and the authority in my life. So this week, I had a relationship that had to end, and I am a lover of animals. I had to put one of my cats down this week. And that was very much a challenge for me. And then I'm also seeing the destruction that is happening in a city that I lived in for a quarter of my life. I lived in Los Angeles for a quarter of my life, and I have many connections in that part of this country. And so watching it unfold in such a challenging way on screen and in the news reports is hard for me. And I will let you know, too, that I serve on the board of the Unity Southwest region, and we have put out a call as a regional organization to say if anyone in Southern California needs support, let us know. Well, putting that call out, we were informed that Unity of Pasadena, which is headed by my friend Reverend Greg Dorst, Unity of Pasadena, 4 of the families at Unity of Pasadena have lost their homes entirely. And so I am looking at how can we as a community support our siblings in Pasadena. And so keep an eye out because there's going to probably be an email that goes out with some information about how we might be able to support them as a community. The challenge for me is I wish I could go in there and just douse all the fires. I wish I could. But I also know that that is not necessarily the action I can personally take, but what I can do is I can pray, and I can trust, and I can support in whatever way that I can. Because authority is not about control. Authority is not about control, but about mastery of the self. And I'm talking about the self with a capital S, the infinite divine self. I can master the self and shape my experience of this reality. So I'm working on that this week. As I see this unfold, I am not letting myself go to the place of, oh my gosh, depression. I'm going to action, because the opposite of depression is expression. And so what can I express to allow myself to do by asking the question, what is possible here? What can I do? If we are willing to step into the intentional creation through the release of consciousness of victimhood, what might life look like? Because the consciousness of victimhood creates perpetrators. We will look for everything in our life and we will support everything in our life being the perpetrator to our victimization. But our work is to identify ourselves as the victors in life. We are intentional creators. And so there is always, always, always a divine idea that is seeking its expression by means of each and every one of us. And if we are willing to actually engage in the process, then what I think we find is the capacity to be of service. That's all I ever want to do, is to be of service. Is there any place in your life, any area of your life, where you can identify the claim or you can reclaim your authority as the creator of your life? Again, it's a rhetorical question just to open up to an awareness. I invite you to embrace your DNA, your divine natural authority. because it is the truth of your being. The divine being the source, the natural being the flow, and the authority being the power. You are the source, the flow, and the power of God. Embrace your DNA, your divine natural authority. Embracing our spiritual DNA, because we have physical DNA, I get that, but embracing our spiritual DNA establishes a blueprint in consciousness, the essence of which is infinite creativity. The adventure for each and every one of us is to live, to create, and to express, and to know that it is all God. It is all spirit. There can be nothing separate from. Life is an adventure itself. And it's an infinite canvas for us to express that divine natural authority. Every new adventure, now here's the thing, every new adventure may feel like stepping onto that uncertain branch, but the adventure lies in trusting our creativity and resilience to fly if the branch breaks from beneath us. The lyric in that song that resonated with me so profoundly today is this: it's time to see what I can do, to test the limits and break through. It's time to see what I can do, to test the limits and break through. Embrace your DNA. It is an invitation to spiritual adventure, to step boldly into the unknown and to trust in your capacity to fly. Let it go. Peace and blessings. You are magnificent. And so I have an encouragement for you to take into practice this week. If you're new to our community, I offer a home practice each week with this idea in mind, that it is a way that we can practically apply what we have learned in the message today. So this week, I want us all to be physically engaged. Make something with your hands, yes, that you have never tried before. It could be molding clay, weaving a small basket, carving a simple shape from wood. Find something that you can engage with physically with your hands. As you create whatever it is you seek to create, focus on the process, not on perfection. Remembering that what you create is a product of your divine natural authority. That's the encouragement this week. Do something with your hands.